Okay. Hello and welcome. We are meeting today as part of our Meet Our Community series, which is going to focus on different aspects of our program so that you can meet and learn directly from our great faculty and staff that work here at Giddens. And so today's panel is focused on our elementary program. I am recording this event and I will share that with all families. I'm happy to welcome on our panel today. We have, in no particular order, we have Leah and Zarina, who are our 1-2 teachers. And we're also joined by Josh, who is a resident teacher in the 1-2 program. And then we have Jake and Alex, who are our 3-4 teachers. And they are also joined by Cricky, who is the resident teacher for the 3-4 program. And I left off Michelle, who also supports our 1-2 program. Hi, Michelle. And
Hello.
let's see, and Colin, who teaches our 5th grade program. I think I caught everybody on the panel. So welcome. We're just here to be in conversation with families and talk through the different aspects of our elementary program. We think of our elementary program as grades 1 through 5th. So if you're applying for one of those grades, these folks are part of that team. I am going to kind of launch this conversation with a question, and then I invite anyone who has joined us for this call. If you have any questions you'd like to ask of the panel, you are welcome to either put it in the chat or unmute yourself and ask the question directly, either to the entire panel, or you're welcome to direct your question to an individual. So we'll get started with the conversation. For the panel, for however many of you would like to speak to this, what kinds of experiences and learning opportunities do you think are important for all children to have during their elementary school years? And how do you see that Giddens approaches these specifically? And this is open for anybody to unmute and answer.
Hi, I'm Leah again. I think when you first said that, the first thing that popped into my mind is just belonging, and that idea of really feeling like even though I'm maybe 6, 7, 8 years old or new to the community, my voice and my thoughts are valued in what we do and how we plan our learning and instructional day. Because I think without that like true sense of belonging, not just that you like make some friends, but that feeling that you matter in your daily community is like what helps you like learn in every aspect, like learn as a friend what it is to be a good friend, learn how to be a problem solver, because you can take those risks, because you know if you maybe make a mistake in trying to solve a problem, you still matter in that community. So it's okay that there's maybe a strange, you said something and there's not like a strange way of looking at it. It's just the way that you approached it. And you feel, okay to make mistakes in the traditional sense of a classroom and in, the more academic piece, because you feel like you belong there. So no matter where you are on the range or level of academics, you still are an important puzzle piece to that learning community. And I think Giddens does a really good job of spending so much time on relationships, not just teacher to student, but parents and students, and parents and teachers, and admin and students, and admin and teachers, and teacher and teacher. And so I think everybody here is kind of working on that sense of belonging and knowing that it's really important to feel safe and that we all matter. I rambled for a long time. It's quick after lunch. Sorry, everybody. See, I feel safe in my community to make those mistakes.
Oh, Colin, go ahead.
Oh, you sure? I'll take that opportunity, Zarina, mostly because I feel like what I was going to say is going to kind of build on what Zarina, or excuse me, what Leah said, especially about relationships, because kind of the first thing I thought about was relationships, but Leah, I feel like you were speaking more to like relationships between the kids. And for me, one of the things that's really essential in an elementary school education is the relationships between the adults and the students. And I do think that that is a huge strength of Giddens. And as someone who's a teacher, but also had 2 students attend Giddens, that's one of the things I saw my own children benefit from, is being seen and being known by so many of the adults in the community. The students here see all the adults sort of constantly throughout the day. And there's so many opportunities for a quick hello and how are you doing from so many of those adults. So many of us can like check in with any individual because we've gotten to know them in one capacity or another, maybe working with them during the school day, maybe after school in some capacity, maybe just interacting with them at recess. All of our specialist teachers get to know all the kids so well. The numbers are such that this is all possible. Things also happen at Giddens where teachers will have students often for 2 years in a row because of grade banding that we do. And there's a lot to be said for that in how well you get to know the students, how well they get to know you. It's also common for if a teacher moves grade levels, like this has happened to me the last 2 years, where a student that they had a few years ago, they get to have again, not in back-to-back years, but a few years later, and can really appreciate some of the growth that they see in those kids. And I have a few 5th graders right now that I had all the way back when they were 2nd graders. And it gives me like such an insight into who they are and can really inform a lot of my teaching. And yeah, it's empowering as a teacher to know the kids so well, to have the limited numbers that I have in my class this year. I really get to work with and know them extremely well this year. And again, building on the relationships I already had with them from the past.
I'm just going to build off of what Leah and Colin were just talking about. I promise this wasn't planned. We just all are on the same wavelength right now. But I think I always say that I think in elementary school, academics will come. They'll learn their math facts. They'll learn how to read. But I think especially in elementary school, it's so important that kids know what it means to be a good person, to be a good citizen, to be a good classmate. And I think something that teachers do really well here, and something that I just noticed in the kids that come to the school is they know who they are as people, and they know what they value, what they stand for, what's important to them. And teaching that language and teaching the social emotional of being able to express your emotions, being okay when saying I'm not happy because of X, Y, or Z, and being comfortable in that and being able to talk to their peers. And I think being on a hallway that's 1st and 2nd grade, and then also having 5th grade, getting to see the conversations grow as they move through the school is really impressive. And just hearing the conversations that 5th graders are having by the time they've left Giddens, they know who they are as people. They know what they want out of their community members. And I think that's a really big testament to the teachers here at the school, as well as the students that are here.
And going off of that, like kind of what it means to be a good person, I think that something that I've been really impressed with at Giddens is the way that like complexity and like living in a complex world is like baked into a lot of the curriculum. I think that there's so many tensions that exist in the world, just in like the reality of living in a complex society, that we really focus on and teach about in our Spark unit, talking about history and science. And like, I really think that Giddens doesn't shy away from tension, and really like focusing on like what tension means and how tension and conflict are not bad things. So like I see that baked into the curriculum, and I also see it so clearly in the ways that we encourage youth to like engage in conflict with one another when they're having issues. I really see us not sweeping things under the rug. I really see us being like, okay, like you both have this viewpoint that is so different from one another. And sometimes you even feel like hurt or harmed by one another. And like, how can you talk to each other, practice empathy, figure out how to move through this tension and conflict and like grow from it. I just see that being exercised and practiced in so many aspects, like in the classroom, but also on the playground, which is like often where it happens a lot of the time when kids are playing and you're it, no, you're it, I'm out, no, you're out, those sorts of things. And I think that the way that really sitting in tension and in conflict is integrated in so many parts of the school really helps kids to be prepared to live in a world where the like right answer is not always going to come super easily.
I'll add, if we're gonna keep riffing, can we keep riffing? Same question. Like
Absolutely.
I mean, I think a big thing, and I think you would hear this from elementary teachers all over, but the importance of learning how to work with other students is something that we see all throughout the day. In any subject. In writing, it might look like helping two students helping each other, or more than two students helping each other with a reading project, or a writing project, and giving each other feedback. In reading, it might look like a book club discussing the most recent section that they read in a chapter book. In Spark, which is our curriculum that encompasses social studies and science and social justice, and it's a lot of project-based learning, where they get these opportunities to work together on things, and sort of learning how they individually can function in a small group with others, what their strengths are, what their challenges are, and getting to practice that is something that they have a lot. I didn't mention math. I just had math class, and getting to work on some sort of challenge today. They were sort of doing a scavenger hunt where they were applying what they've been learning about multiplication, and getting to go around and do a sort of scavenger hunt around the room where they were checking in with each other and helping each other with getting through that process. There's so many opportunities to develop those skills.
Is it okay for parents to ask questions? I'm sorry, Leah, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm a parent and really interested in having our child enrolled, and so learning a lot about guidance. We've done a few visits, but everything that. So first question is it okay to kind of interject with questions, or would you prefer for us to kind of keep the questions until the end?
No, this is a conversation. Please jump in. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks. Thank you. Everything that the teachers have shared is incredibly, it just resonates so well. I cannot express enough how grateful I am for the teaching community who really raise the next generation of leaders and, thoughtful individuals. So thank you, first and foremost. But my question is really, as you were speaking to the importance of instilling the sense of belonging and an ability to kind of lean into the tension, be able to navigate the complexities of the world, and learning who you are and doing so hopefully in a positive way in a great learning environment such as Giddens. How do you instill also this kind of curiosity and inquiry, but with a sense of respect and an ability to navigate some of these conflicts and conversations and tensions in a way that helps kids also foster a sense of respect for the teachers, respect toward each other, and how much of this do you see guidance educators play a role in conjunction with parents?
Okay, I'll attempt. So I think there's a lot of ways, right? And I think if you were in each of our classrooms, it'd be a little different, but I think the idea of respect being automatic is not something we all hold, right? Respect is something that we earn from our students. And in that, it's how we also problem solve and how they see us when there's a dilemma in the classroom, or, you know, something doesn't go to plan, something's not how it's supposed to be, how we deal with that as adults as well. So not just saying, you know, not just saying you need to be open-minded and listen to your peer, or not just telling them, you know, we often use a bug and a wish where we teach them how to be quite verbal and vocal with their own thoughts. And so if something, you know, happens at the playground, someone takes a jump rope, and we, you know, really work on that language of it bugs me or it bothers me when you take my jump rope, and I would like for you to ask me next time, right? And just being very clear with their own feelings, because again, it goes back to what they're feeling matters, and they should be able to say that. But I think, so in constant modeling is how I think we really try to demonstrate what that looks like in a respectful way. And so when they see that these conflicts happen, because they happen all day long, right? But if they're easy and it's like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to take that from you, or you go ahead, or let me help out, and they can see that, I think it's something that's much more internalized instead of I'm supposed to be this way at school, or I'm supposed to act this way. It's just, this is now how I interact with people, because now I've earned my friends' respect. And yeah, did I answer the question a little bit?
Yeah, thank you.
I was also going to add on too that I think here at Giddens we have a lot of support when it comes to topics like this. We have our full-time school counselor who is consistently meeting with groups and meeting with students as needed, right? If something comes up and we need to have a bigger discussion with our school counselor. We also have 3 assistant heads of school. And so really just all of our adult minds coming together and, you know, thinking about how do we address these, you know, topics in our classroom, or this came up in my room. I need support. And I just feel like with all of our minds together, it just really, you know, benefits the students.
Okay. And one more thing, I'm thinking about like sort of these smaller, you know, tensions and conflicts that happen throughout the day. And like I think we have very different ways of responding to those, to like much deeper harm that is committed within our school, because there's always going to be like curiosity in kids. And sometimes it's, yeah, like there is like very real harm that's committed, whether it's like microaggressions related to race, gender, ability, what have you. And I have seen the teachers at Giddens and like myself have responded to incidents where we are very, I think like explicit about when harm is committed. We like really encourage kids, if they feel like able and called to like talk about the ways that they feel harmed, and like have that dialogue with the kids and with the classrooms in ways that like are as like the least amount of judgmental as possible towards the kids that have committed the harm, and like really asking the kids who have been harmed, like, what do you feel like you need in this situation? What do you think would help you heal? And there's like been plenty of incidents that have happened at the school where teachers have like brought parents in, families in, and been like, hey, this is what happened at school. What do you feel like needs to be done in order to heal from this scenario? And like, this is what the steps that we've taken. This is how we responded in the moment. And I think teachers at the school are really committed to like having these ongoing things. We don't think that like we can just put band-aids on these problems and like, okay, now it's healed. Like so many of these things that are happening in like when deeper harm is committed it's necessary to be part of ongoing relationships with the students, with the families, to make sure that like we feel like we're in right relationship with everyone that is included, the kids that have been harmed as well as the kids that have done the harm.
Or just having the right conversation with students, you know, not just as a teacher, but try to really listen to what their needs are, not just emotionally, but what really happened objectively, and have them think critically of what happened. I think that is the way to also model children to be independent and to be independent thinkers.
Christopher, I saw that you had your hand up. Did you want to ask your question now?
I did, yes. And thank you, Ken. And so, yes, I had a question, I guess, which any or all of you can speak to, but it concerns like the social emotional development piece. And more specifically, my wife and I typically pick up and drop off our kid from the bus stop. And so there was a recent episode where he asked, someone else if they wanted to play, and they said no. And so, while that kind of, hurt my own feelings in that moment, I also made sure to tell him, look, people have a right to say that they don't want to do something, right? That just because you want to do something doesn't mean that everyone around you has to do that same thing too. So that's just to say that I was wondering if you guys could speak to kind of ways that you've sought to kind of manage those moments where, it's not necessarily an instance where there's like a clear right and wrong, right? Like it's wrong to hit people, but like, those moments where you've tried to kind of teach, your classes, like, yeah, like that there is gray, but here's how to navigate it in a healthy way.
Well, I can kind of answer to that since I kind of started the, critical and independent thinking. To navigate them in a healthier way is probably to just listen to their needs first, and really be with them when something is going on, because, we are all humans with full of emotions, all kinds of emotions. So children will feel certain emotions bursting out from them with no apparent reason. So as teachers, we can just be there for them, always let them know that we are watching them, and we are, hearing them. So I think by just caring and knowing that children, they think, Michelle is aware that I'm feeling this way and she cares. I'm going to try to be stronger than now. Now she cares, and I want, it's kind of like that personal relationship. It builds up to a bigger relationship. I think it starts from very little, step by step, which is personal relationship, and knowing that somebody cares for you and is watching you.
I think going off of what Michelle said, I think a lot about validating kids' emotions, their feelings, their experiences, and never trying to minimize, even if it is a big area of gray, for example. And I think a lot of like recess play, where a lot of these gray areas can occur between friendship dynamics. And a lot of the language sometimes that we use in my first and second grade class is this idea of what's a big problem, what's a small problem, and how can our reactions, our interactions change depending on whether it's a small problem or a big problem. So in the example of this student that doesn't want to play with me at recess and they're playing with their friend instead, their other friend instead in another classroom. And we always talk about, all right, first things first, is this a big problem or is this a small problem? And when normally they come to the assumption of it's probably a smaller problem. It's not a huge problem. And then we think about, all right, what's an appropriate reaction to a smaller problem? What are some different strategies that we've come up with as a class? We've come up with, well, let's see if we can do some negotiating. Maybe this recess you play with them, and then next recess you could play with them, or maybe 15 minutes you play and then 15 minutes you play with your other friend, and coming up with these discussions. But I think a lot of what I try and do as a teacher is facilitating those conversations. So really having the end decision come from the child instead of myself telling them, well, this is what you do in this situation. My goal is for them to facilitate the conversation, for them to end up with a solution that they feel will solve whatever the gray area conflict is. I hope that answers a little bit of how kind of I approach a situation like that.
It absolutely does. Thank you.
I'm just gonna add on, sorry, Colin. Okay, to put together too what Michelle and Zarina have said, I think the biggest thing is like to name that emotion, right? It's okay, even if it is a small problem, it's an okay feeling. All of our feelings are okay. They're not harmful. Now, what are we gonna do about it, right? I can act out in a way that's gonna help me get back to the green zone. We do a lot of work around our zones of regulation and how I get back to green to feel good about myself, right? If I get myself too upset about not getting to play, whatever game with a friend, then I've missed my recess. But I can name that emotion, talk to the adults around me that care about me, and then really work with the strategies that we have in place to kind of like, okay, well, I had that emotion. It's not helping me to dwell on it. So now I'm gonna try to problem solve within myself and find another game to play for one of the examples.
I would say, I guess, a couple things. One is, just we have a social emotional learning component curriculum. We have a counselor who comes in and weekly to all the classes, or at some point it can be bi-weekly, but these are the kind of conversations and lessons that they have. I think I'm struck by, like, this is the kind of things that we're getting at with this part of the conversation are very different in different grade levels, in different ages, obviously, of the kids. So in fifth grade, like one concept that we talk about a lot is this concept of or idea of impact versus intent, right? Because of where they're at, I think that's very much something that is like a lens by which they can look at some of the conflicts and challenges that they have, and when they do something that hurts somebody else's feelings, or for example, and that wasn't their intent, getting to a place where they can kind of separate that from the impact that it had, and like taking ownership for the impact without feeling like, they have to defend themselves because it wasn't their intent, and kind of sorting that out and having those conversations. In fifth grade, that's a big part of I think the answer to your original questions is it looks different in each grade level, and yet there is our SEL curriculum that kind of goes throughout, and those conversations happen all throughout the different grade levels and all throughout a student's years at Giddens. And there's some cohesion. Somebody mentioned the bugs and wishes. There are some certain strategies that the kids learn that come into play all throughout their experience at Giddens.
And also after emotion check and, the levels of their stress that they're, getting, we can also help them think of other things to develop so that they feel happy with their accomplishments. For example, they're not able to play soccer with a friend because of some reason. So, teachers can also direct them to a better activity to do so that they can accomplish something from there. For example, the student learns how to play or throw football, and that's their accomplishment after feeling that emotions. So, to adjust to the sanity, the logical way of thinking can also help students develop even more.
Teachers, question for you. What do you look for in a really great partnership with families? What from a teacher's perspective, what do you want that partnership between school and home to look and sound like, as you're doing all the great work you're doing with kids in the classroom?
Alex. Sorry, we're echoing in here. I think, for starters, communication. And that starts from the very first day we meet, which at Giddens is typically at the now I'm losing my train of thought, the meet the teacher day, when they come into the classroom and have that connection. And from there, we have a list of questions, and we really get to know each other and what your family dynamic is like, and anything that we can do to help you transition to school easily. And really, from there, starting with just email threads, starting the first week of school. And I think here at Giddens too, we do drop off in the classroom or pick up in the classroom. So having that connection every single day, just checking in. And really, I think just knowing each other on a more personal level too, I think is just a really great thing that Giddens does. I'm sure other teachers can add on as well, but just starting with that communication piece from the very first day.
I guess I would add, and this is what I find happens successfully so often, is just a conversation. And Jake mentioned there a few opportunities, and there are others pretty early in the year too, to sort of get on the same page and have a conversation about like what strengths and what challenges does this particular student have right now, and discuss like how are the parents at home, whoever's at home, going about trying to help with those challenges. How are we doing it at school, and trying to get on the same page? Often that can lead to the sharing of ideas both ways, that can be helpful tools or helpful strategies that can help the other party. The parents can get ideas from teachers, and obviously vice versa. But going back to what Jake said, like that communication, right? It starts early in the year, and we have the structures set up to make that happen. And I find that families here and parents are just generally very eager and receptive to maintaining those conversations. And at its best, it's just, when we can be on the same page and be having a plan, where this is what working on whatever challenge it is looks like at school, and this is what it looks like at home, and we can be checking in with each other, and talking, reflecting on progress.
Have you ever had a situation where you didn't see eye to eye with the parents or the guardians of the student, and how did you go about resolving when there is a just difference of opinion on a matter?
I think every situation is obviously different, right? If every family dynamic is different, every partnership is different, every differing of opinions would look different too. I have had a family that we're in a disagreement about some things, and I think it's actually just upped our communication, right? And I think it's been important for me to say, like, the child is our client, right? We're here to support the child. And so what is everything that we need to get out on the table for us to be able to work together? And I think opening it up that way really has allowed for this family to feel more vulnerable and accepting of, like, we're in this together. I'm not here to tell you this is what we're doing. This is what, whatever circumstances they've had in the past with teachers or schools or institutions, it really is a partnership. I'm not going to come in and say, I know everything, right? And so I think when there's a differing of opinion, or kind of a, like a wall in between where we're not able to make the partnership, I think it goes back to what Jake said about upping the communication, right? To really allow this person in our community to feel safe and comfortable to say all the things, because we'll be able to get to be more in partnership if everyone's open and honest with how they're feeling. I can't be like super explicit because I'm not going to name a family member, but I think that it's important to always be open and honest if with how we're feeling, both parts, so that everyone's questions are answered, so that we can see eye to eye. And that might mean that there's some changing of opinions on one side and the other. And again, just really trying to communicate, almost maybe over communicate, so that we're able to get to know each other a little bit better.
I think in those circumstances, I always think it's important to just always remember that on the two sides, whether it's the guardian and the teacher, at the end of the day, everyone's goal is for this child to succeed, and to have that as the foundation, and to just remember that and reinforce that, I think is always so critical when any moments of tension or conflict arise. I think it's important often to just keep that and remember that. And I think that often leads to beneficial conversation and problem solving in those moments.
We opened this conversation talking about learning opportunities and experiences that we hold important for an elementary school experience. I was wondering if one or more of you can speak to the kinds of learning opportunities and experiences kids have outside of the walls of Giddens. So field trips or other maybe service learning opportunities, or things that they're doing as an extension out in the community.
I can speak to a couple of things this year in 5th grade. And generally speaking, coming out of COVID, we're sort of, rebuilding those experiences, because we didn't get to do them for 2 or 3 years. In 5th grade, we did very early in the year this year go on a trip for 3 nights, I believe it was, to Islandwood on Bainbridge Island, and had an amazing experience participating in a lot of environmental education and doing a lot of fun things all throughout, hiking a lot, spending time in a variety of different ecosystems that exist over at Islandwood, but just a ton of time together that was really beneficial for them. And then another field trip that we took really early in the year, and we're hoping that this and I think it will become a regular thing, and build a relationship with Lighthouse for the Blind, which is a pretty short walk from Giddens. So the 5th graders went and visited. We were actually the first group to tour that facility since COVID. And for the kids, it was a really great experience for building empathy and learning about what it means and what it looks like to have the challenges that the people that are served by that organization have, and learn from them themselves. It was great. A lot of kids said it was their favorite field trip they'd ever been on. So we're looking forward to seeing what that continues to lead to. It's kind of in the school, but 5th graders are also working on a play together right now that I'm really excited about. I love the idea of kids performing anything together, and how that brings them together and all the positives that come out of that. And that's another thing. Again, it is within the confines of the school, but it is a really unique experience.
Something that the 1-2s got to do last year during our Forces in Motion Spark unit last year, we took a field trip. We're very lucky in our close community to have the Seattle Children's Play Garden, which is a fully accessible playground for students with disabilities, nature, farms, animals, a really, really incredible space. And so we got to, we're really lucky to have that in our backyard. And so I know multiple classes use that space and get to experience that environment. multiple times throughout the year. So I thought that's a really cool field trip that many classes get to take around here.
And then also thinking about, we share a building with Lake Washington Girls Middle School, and just, not necessarily a field trip, but having the opportunity to work with them this year in the 3-4. We did some projects with them earlier this year, and then also we're going on a walking field trip to Seattle Girls School, which is also in the neighborhood. So just, connecting with the middle schools around us too, and feeling a part of that community. Making it feel more of like a K-8 experience in some sense, having those connections with the middle school, I think has been really beneficial for our kiddos.
Thanks. We will have to end this call on time because our teachers have to go pick up their kids from other locations. But if anyone who is family visiting us has a last question you'd like to ask, we're happy to answer that now. Or if anyone on our panel has something additional they want to add that we haven't sort of raised in this conversation, feel free to do that as well. I do want to thank those of your families that joined us. Again, this will be recorded and I'll have this up on our website. And I just want a special thank you to all of our teachers for taking time out of their very busy days to come and be in conversation with you. Our goal always is to open up our community to you as you're exploring a great school for your children for the fall. And we're always appreciative of your interest in the Giddens School community. So thank you very much. And we will see you soon, hopefully. Take care, everyone.